Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Hill. I'm the Chief Academic Officer here in Riverside Unified. I want to welcome our families and wider audience to our community update today. We do have a Spanish simulcast, so also welcome to our Spanish-speaking families. Assistant Superintendent San Martin will tell you how to access the Spanish simulcast.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos. Tenemos una transmisión en vivo por separado para nuestra comunidad de habla hispana. Para unirse y escuchar, siga el enlace en la parte de abajo de la pantalla. Muchas gracias. Back to you, Ms. Hill.
We have with us our Riverside Unified Board of Education President, Mrs. Kathy Allavy.
Thank you, Ms. Hill, and welcome to our RUSD community. We are in our second week of school, and I think we have all found it to be a balancing act. Teachers are gaining new online skills and mastering new grades and subjects, and parents are trying to balance their jobs and duties with an online schedule that usually doesn't align perfectly. And students are learning what it's like to be in a different style of classroom and learning environment. I would like to look down the road and tell you that it will be all over soon. However, we learned at last night's board meeting that our county is still on the county watch list, and that out of our 6 measures to return to the classroom, we have met only 4. We still have a ways to go before we're out of the woods, and that means continued virtual and distant learning. But we can continue to improve. To do that, we need your input. The Board of Education reads your letters and emails and passes along ideas and suggestions so that we can continuously tweak things to improve things. After all, this is the first time any of us have tried to put 40,000 students online. Please continue to be patient with us and let us help with tech problems as they arise. Thank you for working with us. Stay safe and stay healthy. And now I'd like to turn it over to our district superintendent, Dr. David Hanson.
Thank you, President Allavy. This COVID-19 pandemic has been an incredibly heavy lift when considering the safety concerns for all 42,000 students and 4,000 employees. And the weekly and sometimes daily pivots have not been easy. Because of this, I'm grateful to you, Ms. Allavy, and all of our board members for your leadership and calming, reassuring voices during this difficult time. I'm also extremely grateful to all of our employees. There has not been a moment this past summer that our teachers and staff were not actively engaged in navigating the very best and safest options for all of our students and families for the new school year. And to me, it's absolutely amazing to see all of the hard work and work that has been done in such a short period of time. Yet it has been a very bumpy road, to say the least, getting the school year up and going. It's not perfect, far from it. Nevertheless, I want to assure everyone that we are absolutely committed to improving and becoming better as we face the many challenges this pandemic continues to bring. We will need to continue and pivot, innovate, and be forward-thinking as we make our decisions, always with the best interest of our students, families, employees in mind. In doing so, we will evaluate decisions we have made, make necessary changes, adjustments, and work hard to enhance our current practices, our current processes, and programs. It will continue to require from all of us patience, flexibility, and understanding as we move through this unprecedented time together. Absolutely, I believe that we will get through this and be stronger and more prepared because of our experiences when we come out on the other side. So thanks again to our board members and for your leadership, all of the staff's hard work and dedication, and especially the patience and understanding from our students and our families. Back to you, Ms. Hill.
Thank you, Dr. Hanson. Families and community, this is an opportunity for us to provide some information for you and to respond to questions that you submitted earlier. Our topics for tonight are tutoring and textbooks, neighborhood centers, devices and hotspots, meals, student engagement and student assistance, family outreach, and then responses to questions that you submitted earlier. In the area of tutoring, we're excited to be able to continue to offer small group academic support during our Hearts in Prime Time program at our 20 elementary schools and 6 middle school sites. In addition, Boys and Girls Club and Primetime staff will provide daily live drop-in for homework and independent classwork assistance. Hearts in Primetime programs began on August 17th via Phase 1 distance learning. They offer their services from 3 to 6 p.m. Our Avid tutors will continue to serve students at our secondary Avid sites through Phase 1 distance weekly tutorials. In addition, we're proud of our partnership with AmeriCorps program. They have received flexibility from their grantee to fill in the gaps by providing service to 9 of our elementary sites that are not being served by Hearts. AmeriCorps tutors will begin working with our students in mid-September. In the area of materials and supplies, throughout this week, unfortunately the hottest week ever, our families will be visiting their home school sites at scheduled times to pick up materials. Students will be receiving textbooks and some consumables that they may write in and keep. In addition, students of all grade levels will be getting basic school supplies such as paper, pencils, sharpener, and ruler. Preschool and elementary students will also receive crayons or colored pencils, scissors, glue, and construction paper. Students in grades 7 through 12 art classes will receive course-specific supplies such as markers, paints, and sketchbooks. Use will be monitored, and we will consider replenishment as possible. We did have some supply issues which delayed delivery of some items, which means that families will have to make a return trip for another round of pickups. The Neighborhood Learning Center concept was inspired by what the county and city of San Francisco is planning. We have partnered with the city of Riverside and are working to secure the use of Cesar Chavez, Ismael Villegas, Joyce Jackson, Ruth Lewis, Rank, and Stratton community centers. These facilities were chosen strategically to ensure our most under-resourced students in grades K-6 will have the opportunity to access distance learning support. The plan is to open Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. with champions providing staffing and services. Referrals will come from school sites, and students experiencing homelessness, foster youth, and free reduced meal eligible students will have first priority. Our plan has been submitted to local officials and is pending approval. Cesar Chavez and Villegas community centers will be the first to open with a proposed starting window of early September. The beginning of this project will be able to serve just over 200 students. In addition, Riverside County Office of Ed has also announced a program to subsidize childcare costs for essential workers who must report to their work sites. If there is an essential worker in need of childcare, they can call 800-442-4927 and leave a message. They should be sure to identify themselves as an essential worker and provide the best contact number and email. Our meal service restarted on August 11th at all RUSD sites. Grab-and-go meals are available according to price eligibility, free, reduced, or paid on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:15 to 12:15, regardless of a student's program choice. Families have the option of visiting any RUSD site to pick up a meal. The students themselves are not required to be present, but their ID number must be presented. Families are highly encouraged to apply for the RUSD meal application at the earliest convenience. The grace period for families that were approved in the prior year ends on September 21st. The application can be found online by visiting riversideunified.org/backtoschool. In the area of technology, we currently have over 30,000 Chromebooks checked out to students. We continue to repair, clean, package, and distribute Chromebooks through the school sites for checkout. Over 2,300 hotspots have been distributed to school sites to assist families who have internet needs. The district is exploring additional opportunities to continue to assist students with connectivity needs. We do have a tech support hotline for families and staff. With the high volume of calls earlier this past week, we were not able to keep up with the calls. Since then, we have hired and trained additional staff and have caught up with the volume of calls we're receiving. In the area of student engagement, we're monitoring participation in distance learning per the SB 98 requirements. SB 98 requires attendance for students, meaning they must participate in distance learning and will be marked absent if they do not participate. Under SB 98, daily participation does not have a minimum number of minutes, but is determined by engagement in the lesson, by completion of assignments and assessments, and by contact between the teacher and the student or family. We are designing a systematic re-engagement process for students who do not participate in the live learning sessions. Tier 1 is considered universal, meaning it will be available for all families and students. If a student misses one day, there will be contact with the student or family. Tier 2 is more personalized and will be implemented when students have missed 2 or 3 days. And Tier 3 provides more intensive supports and will be applied for any student who has missed more than 3 days of live interaction. We continue to have supports in place for our students, staff, and families. Our Family Resource Center provides connections to district and community resources, including health services, counseling, early childhood programs, food, clothing, shelter, and other needs. Student Assistance Program counselors and the Family Resource Center are beginning today to host webinars geared toward helping families navigate these unusual circumstances. Trauma-informed practices training will be provided to all district staff through online professional development. These trainings will aid in the understanding of how students experience this current time. Additional trauma-informed practices training for counselors is upcoming. We have a social emotional playbook of supports with tools that can be used by teachers and support staff to provide social emotional learning for their virtual classrooms. And school counselors have been working long hours at warp speed to place students in classrooms, meet their needs and wishes when possible. And they still maintain focus on the 3 domains of school counseling, which are academic, college and career, and social emotional supports. Another form of support is our professional development. All certificated staff are taking modules and subsequent courses. Most have completed the first 3 modules already. The remaining 2, modules 4 and 5, are choice-based. Certificated staff can choose from over 75 courses, which are targeted to specific certificated roles and include curriculum-based professional development around digital tools. As of today, 1,850 certificated staff have logged in and taken over 46,000 courses. In the area of student, parent, and teacher feedback, as Mrs. Alavi said, we welcome your feedback. We do attend to it, we share it, and we work out solutions when they are necessary. We have been hearing from you by the way of phone calls, emails, and social media, both the highlights and not so highlights of our programs. We appreciate your grace and understanding as we're doing our best to respond as quickly and efficiently as possible. In closing, I'd like to thank you for our question and answer session today so far. Our presentation so far. And now we'll go on to our question answer. I'd like to invite Dr. Lewis to begin with our first set of questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. There are 10 questions that we are going to answer regarding teaching and learning. So I will read the question and provide a brief answer. So the first question, is there a way to adjust class sizes to 10 to 12 students to accommodate the new virtual or distance learning environment and challenges? So when we are permitted to return back to school in person, just as a reminder, we will have two groups of students. We will have Group A and Group B following our phase hybrid plan, starting with phase 2 and phase 3. And classes should average somewhere between 13 or 14 to 17 students per class. The next question, how are class routines and behavioral expectations being reinforced in classes during distance learning and virtual learning? Just like all classrooms, teachers are the ones working closest with our students and establishing clear routines, procedures, and expectations. From a district perspective, we've published best practices for families in distance learning. We have acceptable use policies and digital citizenship that is also provided to our students. The third question, will academic packets or print materials be provided weekly by the district as a resource to coincide with technology-based portion of distance learning? Everything at this time will be completed in distance learning environment. Materials and instructional materials and other resources, many of you are picking up this week at your brick and mortar school site. As time goes on, if we need to provide additional materials or resources, we will continue to work with our teachers and communicate that to the community as appropriate. Number 4, is there any way there can be a revision to scheduling or the amount of time my child sits in front of a device, especially for TK and first grade? Thank you for the question. The TKK timeframe was reduced by 30 minutes of live instruction to add additional time for our families to meet and communicate with our classroom teachers. We understand that for 4 and 5-year-olds, this environment is very new and there is a transition. So feedback or family supports or suggestions from your teacher will be provided during that time. Right now in TK through first grade, we have about 2 and 2.5 hours of instruction that is broken up throughout the day, and teachers will adjust, provide breaks, establish routines as necessary as we welcome our 4 and 5-year-olds into the learning environment. And the last question on this slide is, how much time do students have for lunch in each program? This will vary based on your grade level and based on program choice. Right now, though, the range is somewhere between 40 and 45 minutes and 60 minutes, depending on choice. The next question is, do students have to show their face on camera? We know that every situation is different, and we know students have different concerns regarding cameras, and we do want to work with our teachers. So to answer the question, it is strongly encouraged because we want our students to be present and to be engaged with our teachers. But if there is a concern, students are not mandated to turn on their camera, but we would encourage the students to work with their teacher as to explain why or how they could work together to possibly resolve that. The one exception, however, does fit for students who are taking American Sign Language. This is a sign language course where that interaction and seeing the student for the teacher is necessary to monitor the language being developed. So those students are required to turn on their cameras. The second question, is it possible to have TK-12 share lunch times? So families that have multiple students in grade spans. Again, that is another recommendation. At this time, we are not going to change our schedules, but as time develops and we do look at phase plans, that is something we consider for future phases or adjustments that need to be made. The next question, why do kids have different teachers and different kids from all over the district and not just from their home school? Students who chose the virtual program and in-person programs did not come out in exactly class sets, nor did teachers who chose that program. So students who chose the virtual program do have teachers from throughout the district, as well as other students, so we could balance those class sizes. And those students and teachers are creating a true Riverside unified program. We have students and teachers that are meeting throughout the district, and we are very excited. Our teachers are developing standards-based curriculum that is continuing, and we are developing relationships with students across our district. The next question, is it possible for students within each of the classes to have an opportunity to meet each other while in distance learning or virtual learning? Perhaps an RUSD monitored video setting so they get to meet their classmates or even develop study teams. Again, the social side of school and that collaborative environment is definitely something we know is missing right now. We know that is such an important part of elementary, middle, and high school. So a few community groups have mentioned trying to develop different social types of events while we're in this environment. And as those continue, we will make sure to share that with our community moving forward. And the last question, are programs such as the Health Careers Academy or Associated Student Body or Student Government or sports available in the virtual program? Student government and athletics are definitely available in the virtual program. Students will maintain that relationship back to their brick and mortar school site. Other programs, especially some of our capstone CTE programs, career technical education, or the academies, were not able to be offered in both programs due to a limited teacher offering, and many of those were just offered to the in-person program. And now I would like to introduce Mrs. Kirsten Frost, Director of Pupil Services and Special Education.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Our first question in this area is, what if my child was supposed to be evaluated last year, but due to the pandemic, it was not able to be completed? Per SB 117, the timelines for assessments were paused during the spring closures and have restarted since the first day of school. RUSD has investigated options for virtual assessments where appropriate, and we are continuing to work with our County Department of Health regarding the health and safety guidelines for in-person assessments. We do advise families to reach out to their teachers and related service providers, school administrators, or our special education program specialists for further assistance. The next question, how can I get help with my child's IEP while we are in virtual learning? And families should, of course, start with their teacher or related service provider if they need assistance with the student's IEP. And you can also reach out to the school administrator of the reporting school, which is the school where your child would have attended if they were physically in school. And our last question, when will service on a child's IEP begin? So classroom instruction began on the first day of school, and our RSP and related service providers are working very hard to coordinate the schedules with all the classroom teachers across the programs that they serve. And they've also begun to reach out to families to share when services will be provided and begin serving students as soon as possible. And next will be Tim Walker, our Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Services and our Special Education Local Plan area.
Thank you, and good afternoon, evening, everyone. This is a great opportunity to share information. I hope it finds you in good health and spirits. Tonight I have a question in the health and safety area. Is there a specific contract in place for virtual school that families need to sign, which states that they are legally held responsible for any misuse or misconduct of another child's photo, video, voice that is being taken during the class? The answer is that students are being provided with digital citizenship lessons in all of their classes during the first few weeks of school, as well as throughout the year. Students and families are also to review the acceptable use agreement through the data confirmation process at the beginning of each year. And each family is expected to sign acknowledging they understand and will follow the policy. In addition, expectations for conduct in a virtual distant learning environment are being sent to families in the near future. So under program choice selection and transfers, the first question is, why are program choice changes still being allowed after July 23rd? Choice deadline and prior to the end of trimester one? The answer is the small percentage of program choice changes being processed right now corrections to program errors that the data was transitioned to our ARIES student information system, where we have confirmed the family's choice during the initial program window. The next question, if I have my child in the in-person program and RUSD begins opening the schools phase 2, am I required to send my child to school physically, even if I still do not feel that it is safe for my child? If a student participating in the in-person program does not attend school physically on the days the student is scheduled to attend physically, they will be marked absent. The opportunity to change programs is available at the end of the grading period, trimester for elementary and semester for secondary, if space is available. At what point will my child who is in the virtual program have the opportunity to return to school in person? The answer is the virtual program will be virtual all year, regardless of when the in-person program is able to return to school physically on campus. You may request a program change at the end of the grading period. The next question is, my 6th grader is in the DLI program in the virtual program. Assuming that my child remains in the virtual program all year and does not switch to in-person, will my child still be on the trajectory to receive his graduation certificate from their home school where they would have been attending, and will they matriculate to their home middle school? The answer is students participating in the DLI program through the virtual program will receive their promotion certificate from the reporting school, which is the school they would have been attending if they were physically in school, and will matriculate to the middle school they would have attended if school physically. For instance, students in the virtual program that would have attended Washington and Castleview would matriculate to Gage, Mountain View, Jefferson to Sierra, and Longfellow and Fremont to University Heights Middle School. If I were to change my program from in-person to home-based, will I have to re-register my child next school year? Assuming this question is asking if the student would need to re-register for the in-person school next year, the student does not need to re-enroll in the district, but would need to re-enroll at the school site they would attend for the in-person program. And the answer, question in enrollment, how many students are currently enrolled as of the end of the first week of classes this year? How many were enrolled as of the end of the first week of classes last year? Can you give a breakdown of the enrollment difference by school and by grade and post it as a graph in your Facebook page? These are great questions, and we will endeavor to provide that information and to answer these questions, but the breakdown and the analysis for this information will not be available until October. So look forward at that point in time. Thank you very much, and I'll return to Chief Academic Officer Renee Hill.
We are happy to announce that we have reached a landmark of over 2 million meals served between March 16th and August 10th. So congratulations and many thanks to our nutrition services team and our school-based teams and everyone who supported that effort. We do have support systems in place for our families and community. Care Solace is available for you at the contact information shown. Video chat is available in addition to audio calls. We also have a wellness page where you see the link here. It's a bit.ly/capitalized RUSD e-learning, where you will find some stretches, some music, some other ways to calm yourself and your mind and deal with wellness as individuals or families. And then lastly, we do have connections to the National Crisis text line by texting HOME, HOME, to 741-741. While we are working on the neighborhood learning centers, please do be reminded that our county office of education, their early care center, maintains a roster of child care service providers that you can access by going to their website. Thank you for joining us on this update. Please consider joining us for our September 1st board meeting. You can find us on our webpage, at our phone number, and of course on social media. See you next time.